Now, let's see where we are today. Well, according to the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, this is, of course, the organization that won the Nobel Prize recently, set up by the World Meteorological Association and the United Nations. They're the ones who advise governments on climate change. They pointed out in March of 2007 that if you look at nuclear power, in 2005, nuclear power accounted worldwide for 16% of electricity supply. 16%. That's actually 2.7% of total energy, because, of course, electricity is only one slice of the energy pie. So about 2.7% of total energy. Now, they said that if you invested in nuclear over the next quarter century, you could raise that figure to 18%. So nuclear could go from 16% to 18% in 25 years, a quarter of a century, much too slow in order to have any significant impact on global warming. And that's a problem. Now, they didn't say that it was too slow. They just said it can make a contribution. That's the contribution it can make. By the way, that figure is about 3% of total energy. The point I would like to make here, and I can't stress it, I can't overstress it. Nuclear power is not a solution to global warming. It is one possible contributor, and the contribution it has to make is limited. And that's an important thing to bear in mind, because I think many people are getting the wrong idea that nuclear power is some kind of magic bullet that is going to solve the problem. Not true. And by the way, climatologists and others who study this problem, they say the next 10 years are really the most crucial. That's when we really got to get a handle on this problem. We can't wait 25 years before we start making an impact. At any rate, and of course there are downsides to nuclear, which are mentioned in the report. It says safety, weapons proliferation, and waste remain as constraints. And I want to talk about those constraints in tonight's talk. What are those constraints? The safety of nuclear reactors, the proliferation of nuclear weapons, and the highly radioactive waste, which remains dangerous for such a long time. Now, okay, what about the alternatives? Well, the same group, the same report, talks about renewable electricity and points out that in 2005, renewable electricity was already providing 18% of world electricity, and that by the year 2025, it could be providing between 30 and 35% of world electricity. In other words, the prospects for renewable electricity, and that's existing technology, nothing that's not on the shelf right now, the prospects for renewable electricity are at least twice as good as the prospects for nuclear. Now, this is not to say that that is going to answer the problem either, but it seems clear that, that this is a more viable option, a more profitable option in terms of making progress on that front than the nuclear option. That's an important thing to bear in mind, and it also has side effects. The side effects are that renewable energy generally has a positive effect in energy security, employment, and air quality. So you always have to look at the side effects. Now, I would like to use the example of Germany. I was just recently in Germany, and it's pretty interesting what's happened there in the last decade. Because of a particular political circumstance, there was a Green coalition government in Germany, and that led to an agreement to phase out nuclear power about 10 years ago. And as a result of that, Germany has 17 nuclear reactors. They've now shut down 2 of those reactors, and they're in the process of shutting down the 3rd one. And in the intervening 10 years, they have built 20,000 megawatts of wind power in 10 years. That's an amazing number. 20,000 megawatts of wind power, that's more, by far, than the entire Canadian nuclear industry. The Canadian nuclear industry is not even as much as 15,000 megawatts. And interestingly enough, when you talk about 20,000 megawatts of wind power, you don't have to wait 10 years before you get any benefit. Every year as you're building the wind power stations, you get more and more benefit. And so you reach a total of 20,000 after 10 years. With nuclear, you got to wait 10 years and you get nothing until after the 10 years or more that it takes to build the plants, and then you start getting electricity being produced. So this is an important consideration as well. As a matter of fact, when the Green coalition government was defeated in the elections and Merkel came to power, her original advice was to cancel this phase out of nuclear power. But when she appreciated, when her government appreciated the surplus of electricity they had from wind, they decided, oh, we'll keep on with the phase out. So they have not by any means canceled the phase out. They are persisting in it. In fact, they've reconfirmed the phase out policy. Now, I would like now to address the downsides that are identified by the working group on nuclear power. And this is really a very general talk. It's really to just give you some insight as to what one should bear in mind if you're going to embark upon this technology in a large way. And by the way, although it was mentioned that they want to build 2 reactors up at Peace River, it has been stated on numerous occasions that that's just the beginning, and that they're thinking about maybe 14 reactors. They're thinking of a whole bunch of reactors. I have to tell you that when I first moved to Quebec, I live in Montreal. When I first moved to Quebec, it was after I grew up in Ontario. I did education in University of British Columbia, postdoctoral work at University of British Columbia, and I worked in Chicago and so on. And when I went to Quebec, Hydro-Quebec at that time, this was around 1974, they were planning to build 30 nuclear reactors along the St. Lawrence River, and they were already choosing sites. They had already chosen the sites for some of these. And, you know, not one of those reactors got built. So the reason why is because the government, after reviewing the subject thoroughly and after some public process, they declared a moratorium on nuclear power reactors and didn't go that route. Now, I'm not saying that that's the same situation as here in Alberta, of course. But nevertheless, some people get the feeling that, well, you know, this is probably a done deal. You can't stop it. Don't believe that for 1 minute. This is very much ball in play. So it's a question of what are we going to do about it as Albertans or as Canadians. Now, this is a model of the uranium atom. These photographs are by my friend and colleague Robert Del Tredici, who teaches at the same college I do, Vanier College. He's an award-winning photographer, and he's the founder of an organization called the Atomic Photographers Guild, which includes photographers from around the world who have taken it upon themselves to document the nuclear age. The reason being that most people are mystified by nuclear technology, and they don't know exactly what it really means or what it really even looks like. And so these photographers try and make this invisible topic more visible through images. This is a model of the uranium atom, which is the key element in all nuclear technology, whether civilian or military. Without uranium, there wouldn't be any nuclear technology in our world. The model is at the Oak Ridge site, Oak Ridge, Tennessee, where they actually enriched the uranium for the first atomic bomb, the one that was dropped on Hiroshima. And the reason why uranium is so important is because it is unique among all the elements in the Earth. It's the only element which is able to undergo what's called a self-sustaining chain reaction of nuclear fission. What does that mean? Well, by the way, uranium was discovered about 200 years ago. It was named after the planet Uranus, which had been discovered around the same time. And it wasn't until World War II, however, that they found any use for uranium. And it's based upon the fact that uranium atoms can be split. And not only can one uranium atom be split, but you can split trillions of uranium atoms almost simultaneously by using what's called a nuclear chain reaction. This is a monument to the splitting of the atom.